Hey guys, how you doing today? Got a day off. That means rest and relaxation to recover from the work of the day, or from the work of the week rather. But today it's one of these introspective kind of ones, right? Not much by way of news. I like to respond to the daily news, but the media is caught in the Lisa Payette. Lisa? Leslie? See how unimportant she is? Like she's completely unimportant, and yet the media, I've seen tons of articles, so it's just we're just caught in a meaningless cycle, right? And more critiques of Doug Ford coming out, no real new information. Um, so days like this are for introspection, are for those moments of those brief moments of peace that we get. We don't like to pause and introspect because that's actually very difficult. It's very difficult to do. We don't like to sit and contemplate. And capitalism certainly doesn't want us to do that, because if we actually stop and contemplate and think about what's going on, then maybe we will find solutions, and maybe we will start to organize among one another to try to prevent or try to change what is happening. And so much more important to keep us busy, much more important to keep us making lattes and shuffling boxes and pieces of plastic around. Much more important to do that than to allow us any amount of breathing room to go amongst each other and say, we can do better than this. One of the things that I'm confronting and that I'm seeing a lot in the world is and when I talk to retailers and workers in retail, right, there's a lot of this sort of sense that, oh, they don't want to unionize or they don't want to organize and all that kind of stuff because they see this job that they're currently working as simply a stepping stone to something else. They see that what they're doing is temporary. They themselves denigrate the work that they do. They don't see it as valuable, really. And in many ways, they are right. Like, a lot of what happens in retail and in the service industry and in the workplace generally is busy work. I mean, no, I shouldn't say almost. Literally every job I have ever worked, there is this manic demand by the supervisors and the foremen and the like the managers, all the way up, and it comes from the capitalists without a doubt, that you can't simply stand around, right? You can't simply take things slow. Like, you can't simply do that. That there's always got to be something to do, and there's always got to be this. But I mean, it's just completely false. Like, if you are a cashier at a grocery store, right? Like, what? Why are these people who are at the grocery store and they're standing behind the cash, why are they standing all day? Let them sit. You know, there's this manic demand that a person constantly be moving and constantly be and like, this leads to absurd jobs that happen. Like, I have seen people take a bag of rags, empty that bag of rags, fold that bag of rags into a container, and then tuck that container into the same slot that they pulled the bag from. It's busy work. It's busy work. It's completely meaningless. There's no reason you can't just pull the cloth out of the bag and use it that way. But if we and it stems from this reality that we don't have the leverage to actually demand that our time be worth more, right? That we are stuck in this kind of position where we have to do this work while simultaneously being told that, oh, this is all voluntary, right? Which is a huge lie. Like, if you genuinely are saying that out loud, that you are lying not only to everyone around you, but to yourself in a very massive way. There's nothing voluntary about what we're doing, right? The universe has decreed that we need food and shelter or we die. And so worthless middlemen have inserted themselves in between the process of getting food and shelter, uh, and have forced us to sell ourselves to them. Like, the process itself is non-voluntary. The system itself is non-voluntary, right? There is no other option but to sell yourself to a billionaire-dominated market. And so the thing that I struggle with, and I'm struggling with today, and that's banging around in my head today, is how do we come to terms with this? How do we come to terms with the idea, and most importantly, how do we come to terms with the idea that even if we struggle against these forces that are enslaving us, that are seeking to destroy us, how do we come to terms with the reality that we may fail, and that the struggle might not be able to overwhelm or defeat these forces that have aligned themselves to enslave and destroy us. And that's something I think about pretty much every day, you know? That as I attempt to actually work and make these videos and struggle, there's a real, genuine, looming, persistent, constant sense that we're not going to succeed, or certainly there's going to be a major shift that is going to occur that the populace is not prepared to handle, right? Like, I think very much about, like, we are in a peak fuel decline, right? Fossil fuels are in a decline. That's just real, right? People like to peg me as a doomer, and I'm like, it's not doomerism to say out loud we have less oil production than we have had in the past. And it is very likely that we are not going to suddenly find a whole lot of oil to continue the process of this fossil fuel generation. And it is also real to say that we are not going to have other power projects that suddenly manifest themselves in order to replace the fossil fuels that are in decline, right? We are not going to have a replacement. And it simply means that we're going to use less power. We're going to have access to less power. We are going to have to begin rationing power. We're going to have to begin making, like, we are going to have central government power make decisions about who gets to use power for what. Because right now, like, drive down the interstate. Just drive down the Trans-Canada Highway one time in the middle of the night, right? There's lights just glowing all day. You'll drive by, like, I remember back in Manitoba, there was this Simplot factory, right? It's where your potatoes get grown and processed. And all night they would have enough lights on to power like 6-7 houses, just glowing in the night. For what? I don't know what for. Like, what is it for? Security, I guess, is what they would say. But who is coming to rob a potato factory in the middle of the night? And these are just realities that we have to look at and we have to be honest about. And how do we deal? How are we, like, take a look at how we're dealing with the COVID-19 crisis. Like, it feels like the society is hanging on by a thread that we all know, like, we keep saying to one another we're all in this together, but we know that it's a lie. Like, we know that it's a lie. And I just feel like these things need to be said out loud, because I think that people are propagandizing us and gaslighting us in order to avoid the difficult conversations. And I just can't tolerate it anymore. You know, I can't tolerate it anymore. That I've been called all kinds of things. I've been denigrated. I've been told that I'm lazy, that I just need to get a better job. I have a university education. I educated myself in the wrong thing, so I'm stupid. Like all of these things, and this has just been gaslighting the entire time. Because at the end of the day, the people who are gaslighting us refuse to actually acknowledge that what we're doing is selling ourselves to a billionaire dominated market through a process of wage slavery. And we shouldn't, like, we don't even need to say this confrontationally any longer. This is just what's real. These are just the facts. And the and if we're not willing to acknowledge what the facts are, then how can we even start to change what's going on or change the process of what's happening? And how do we come to terms with just the fact that people are going to be abandoned if this is the way that we do business, right? Because that's the way that we do business. We abandon people. We've seen it, like, we abandon the homeless. The working class has been steadily abandoned. And if you vote conservative or liberal, then you're voting for that abandonment, right? Like, as much as we, celebrate that Donald Trump got deposed, like, Biden isn't going to help anybody. Like, he's not putting in anything to actually help anyone, right? Not seriously. Like, he's doing things that are positive in, like, an existential sort of sense, in, like, a performative sort of way, in like a large scale upper class kind of a way. But on the day to day, right? You get up and you go to whatever job that you can find, selling yourself to a billionaire or a millionaire who themselves work for billionaires. And you work that job, and if you don't do it, you die. And I just think that these sorts of videos, when I make them, it's simply so that I can state it clearly and know that other people are seeing it and know that there are other people who live in solidarity. Because for so much of my life, I was told that thinking this way made me stupid and lazy and crazy, and I just need to get in line and bootstrap myself and all this kind of stuff. But it's all just gaslighting. And it's obvious now. It's obvious now because their system results in civil war, environmental destruction, and income inequality on a level that we haven't seen since the ancient pharaohs. Like, what leg do they have to stand on? What possible defense can they have of this system that is obviously a death cult? And we are getting into that phase now where they're not even going to try to defend themselves. They're just going to throw up their hands and say, we need to find a way to unify, while they put the boot on our face, right? Work is freedom. And we get, like, the smiling fascist with Joe Biden instead of the grumpy fascist with the Republicans, right? Like, we basically just are given the option of choosing our style of fascism. And I don't think I can tolerate it. And I don't think we should pretend anymore. Like, the people who are insane are the people who are defending the system. And that's what... and that's where we need to be. And that's how we have to deal with it. Okay, this is the end of me, guys. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Hit all the bells, hit all the whistles. Hitting like is easy. Just hit the like button, super easy. If you really, really want to put some skin in the game, my Patreon's below. $1. That's all I'm really asking for. And you know what you get for that $1? If any question you ask me, I will do a video about it. I've had more than one person asking me to do a video. And hey, if you just throw that $1 my way, yeah, I'll do it. No trouble, no muss, no fuss. It's in the description. Okay, guys, you're doing well. Everything you're doing is right. Everything you're doing is right. Don't let them gaslight you. Good luck. We're going to need it.